It was August 20th, 2025, when Ukraine woke up to the blackest morning of war to find Russia raining a brutal swarm of 574 kamikaze drones and 40 ballistic missiles, not on soldiers or military installations, but on regular neighborhoods, schools, and busy streets where civilians live their ordinary lives. Blasts tore through the western city of Zaporizhia, hitting the buildings of the U.S. firm Flexler Mountain and setting nearby houses and warehouses alight. In a matter of minutes, 9 civilians were killed, 19 more injured, and 5 U.S. citizens were bleeding in the rubble. Among the smoke and broken glass, a mother's anguish-filled wails cut through the mayhem as she knelt in the wreckage of her home, weeping for the son who died under the rubble. Her voice screaming out in a haunting reminder that this was no fight against armies, but a war against innocence itself. The bombings were not just destruction, they were Moscow's overt message to the world, demonstrating its ability and eagerness to attack civilians and even its willingness to target American business. For Ukraine President Zelensky in Kyiv and President Trump in Washington, the raid was no longer merely another installment in the war. It was a provocation, an open slap in the face requiring a rebuke. As screams of emergency sirens echoed through Ukrainian cities and world viewers watched in shock, one reality became undeniable. Silence was no longer an option, and the clarion call for vengeance had been sounded. The Russian attack resulted in over 200 buildings destroyed, 46 burned to ashes, and 9 innocent lives lost within minutes, 5 American citizens among the injured, their blood staining the very ground Moscow promised to devastate. In the Oval Office, President Trump's face set with determination as intelligence reports filtered in, his voice slicing through the quiet fog like steel. This is not just an attack on Ukraine. This is an assault on the United States itself. President Zelensky, from across the Atlantic, appeared on a secure video link, pale-faced but his voice ablaze with rage as he warned, "If we do not retaliate now, tomorrow there will be 500 killed, 5,000 injured, 50,000 displaced. Ukraine cannot wait, and neither can America." Then General Raymond Cole, commander of U.S. European Command, presented his thundering promise. Each Russian missile would see 10 coming back at them. Each drone would meet fire that would wipe their bases off the face of the earth. The room dropped into heavy silence, but within the silence was an unspoken reality. Revenge was certain. Within 60 minutes, encrypted commands crackled over satellites and secure links, tying Washington and Kyiv into one iron resolve. The operation was dubbed Operation Iron Thunder, a blow unlike any the war had witnessed. Ukraine would open with a barrage, a cloud of more than 200 combat drones carrying explosives and electronic jammers to knock out Russian radars and disable S-400 systems, while 48 HIMARS and 90 Vilka-M rocket launchers shelled Belgorod and Kursk logistical centers. But this was just the prelude. From the skies over Poland, 20 stealth bombers, B-21 Raider, were poised to pierce deep inside Russia and destroy Engels Air Base and Saratov missile depots, facilities that contain nuclear bombers and hypersonic stores. Under the Black Sea, 3 Virginia-class subs that carried 120 Tomahawks lay in wait silently, their aim set on command centers, fuel storage facilities, and radar screens, while above them, 36 F-35s and 18 F-22 Raptors hovered ready to clean the skies. Brutal in conception and irrefutable in rationale, the operation's intention transcended revenge. It was nothing short of beheading. Russia's command structures, airfields, and supply lines were about to collapse in a single night, and in the war room, the countdown had begun. General Cole leaned over the table, his words sharp as steel. They sent 574 drones. We'll send 200 back. They fired 40 missiles. We'll erase 40 targets before dawn. Putin will learn by morning what it feels to stir the United States of America. The storm had broken finally at 23:59 on August 20, 2025. Within 3 minutes, Ukraine's sky burst as 1-200 war drones rose from concealed silos, back roads, and camouflage trailers, soaring like a cloud of fireflies that to Russian sensors looked like raw chaos. Desperate S-300 and S-400 batteries released over 300 interceptors, but the horde was too big. 150 drones penetrated, pounding fuel depots, railroad yards, and armored assembly points. 25 T-90 tanks burst in blazing strings of secondary explosions, and 11 supply trains disintegrated in fire. At 01:20, 24 B-21 Raider stealth bombers entered Russian airspace undetected and released payloads that turned Engels Air Base into a smoking graveyard. 16 hangars destroyed, and more than 30 nuclear-armed bombers worth billions destroyed. Within seconds, Saratov's missile depot exploded in a blast so titanic it broke windows 40 miles away. Below the Black Sea, 3 Virginia-class attack subs fired 126 Tomahawks, whose warheads ripped through command bunkers, radar grids, and fuel depots. One blow killed 43 top Russian staff commanders outright. Above East Ukraine, 36 F-35s and 18 F-22 Raptors ripped through Russia's air response, knocking down 17 Su-35 fighters in under 30 minutes, while electronic warfare pods blinded communications over a 300-mile front. On the ground, Ukrainian artillery added to the symphony of destruction, with 90 Vilka-M rocket systems reducing Kursk's logistics hubs to smoking craters as a plume rose 25,000 feet, visible from Poland. By 003-6, Russia's western defenses were in freefall, over 300 armored vehicles destroyed, 60 aircraft lost, billions in infrastructure gone, and command networks shattered. In Kiev's safe bunker, President Zelensky addressed his generals, eyes burning with stern determination. For the first time, Russia is bleeding where it thought it was invulnerable. In the Situation Room of the White House, President Trump leaned forward, his face bathed in satellite photos of Russian bases in flames, and spoke in hushed steel, "This is only the beginning." By dawn on August 21st, the fighting was done, but its impact was just beginning. Along Russia's western border, quiet had fallen in place of the sound of conflict, neither because Moscow had emerged victorious, but because its defenses had been leveled. Radar stations were darkened, command posts cut off, and supply lines shattered in a single night, unwinding years of effort in hours. The effects spread far beyond the battlefront. NATO called an emergency meeting in Brussels. Rumors circulated that Moscow's credibility had shattered, and newspapers across the globe, from Tokyo to Berlin, ran the same banner headline, "America Strikes Back." Oil prices climbed, defense stock rose, and the ruble fell to its 2-decade nadir. In Kiev, Zelensky spoke to his bruised but unshaken nation, saying, "Russia wanted fear, but instead they have ignited resolve. Ukraine stands taller today because we do not stand alone." His words struck a chord all over Europe, whereas in Washington, Trump stood up to the press with a steady but sledgehammer-like tone. When Russia launched 574 drones and 40 missiles into residential neighborhoods, they expected America to falter. Instead, they witnessed 40 of their strongholds disappear before daybreak. This is not escalation. This is justice. General Raymond Cole enforced the warning, his voice unyielding. Attack American interests, and you invite the full fury of our arsenal. We do not forget, we do not forgive, and we do not lose. The warning was clear. What had started as Russia's attempt to terrorize Ukraine turned into an international lesson in deterrence. Operation Iron Thunder was not just a tactical operation, it was a strategic earthquake, demonstrating that American and Ukrainian solidarity could penetrate even Russia's heart. For each ally, it was reassurance. For each foe, it was a warning. Challenging America meant risking destruction, but beyond the numbers and satellite transmissions, the vision of a sorrowing mother weeping over the remains reminded the world why this war was important. Not only land, but dignity, existence, and the preservation of freedom itself. Russia's hubris had ignited a fire it could not quell, a fire that now burns as a warning to any country foolish enough to challenge America's resolve.